Hello, everyone, and welcome to Camera Culture, a new video streaming series from Whale FM putting the diverse creators of the NFT photography movement into focus. My guest today is landscape photographer Albert Dros. Known for his distinct style, Albert's works have been published by some of the largest media entities in the world, like Time Magazine, National Geographic, and more. And now, over a year since his first mint, the passionate lensman is forging a path forward for the NFT photography movement in the realm of Web 3.0. Albert, thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us today.
Thank you, and that was a very nice intro.
You're certainly a talented subject to have on for our inaugural episode, so very excited to have you. Um, Briefly, for anyone that may not be familiar with you and your work, could you give us a little bit about who you are, your background in photography and art as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I'm Albert Dros. I'm a professional landscape photographer. It's been my full-time job for about 8 years, I think. I started about 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, with really intense photography. That was when I lived in Hong Kong, actually. I lived in Hong Kong, same as Will Shark right now, I saw. So, yeah, it was for me. I've always been into the media industry. So I used to work for television, actually. I used to do graphics design for game shows like, American Idol. Actually, it was the first, Idols was the first here in the Netherlands, the format. And I worked on that show for the design. I worked on a lot of other shows as well. I worked a lot of in sports. So what I used to do is make the graphics and then like put them on the television. So if you saw some wrong graphic or title, that was me. So yeah, I used to do a lot of design and graphics before I actually got into photography. I also had my own video company about 12 years ago. So always been my own boss, kind of. Always been in this industry, and yeah, I kind of discovered photography when I was living in Hong Kong. I got really into that, captured basically everything from street, landscape, cityscapes, and really found my drive and passion there. And actually, I never I never really looked back. I noticed I got really good at it. So also really integrate my design into my photos. You can see my photos; they're quite colorful as well. I work a lot with complementary color schemes, and you can see the style is very consistent across all the photos. And that's mainly also because of my post processing, editing, and how I want the photos to look. So often when I take the photo in the field, I already kind of know how I want the final photo to look because I always use some post processing in the process. But in my journey, I got quickly better, and brands wanted to work with me. I built a lot of social media over the last 10 years. I'm active everywhere. I like everything from taking the photos, doing all the business, doing the social media every day. Photography is not only about taking a picture, it's so much more. Yeah, and I like this whole process. And yeah, I've been fortunate to make a living basically from photography for a very long time. And yeah, now here we are with a completely new way of showing your art, showing your photos to the audience, which are NFTs. And I guess that's why we are here now. And yeah, I'm very excited to experience this movement. And I only got into it like seriously a few months ago. But as you also announced, like I minted my first photo more than a year ago. I put it up. I think it was Rarible. It was
Yep.
just for fun to try it out. And yeah, a couple of days ago, Will Shark bought that photo actually, which was quite funny. It was my first photo ever minted as an NFT, and I at that time I didn't really expect it was gonna be so big as it is now. So it's really great to see, yeah, NFTs growing like this.
Yeah, it's certainly an empowering movement for a lot of creatives,
Yeah,
and really putting the power not only back in their hands from a monetary perspective, but from a creativity perspective, giving them a lot of ideas on how to really, leverage their toolkit a little bit differently and get them excited, which is something that I love. That there's a lot of creatives that have delved back into things that they hadn't been doing. I think COVID may actually have helped this spur along a little bit, because a lot of people were, not socializing and doing some of the things that they had traditionally been doing. Not everyone, but it gave an
Yeah.
opportunity for people to refocus and become passionate and see all this other stuff happening. So I love what the movement's done from that perspective, and certainly, I'd love to hear more about how that impacted you. But before we get there, because I'll forget, because you gave me so much, which is appropriate, because when I looked at your stuff, you weren't kidding when you said you love doing the media stuff. Someone said to me as a joke the other day, "Hey, do you remember Flickr?" And then you have like an amazing Flickr page that I don't know if this is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
legacy or this is up to date and used, but it's incredible.
Yeah, you can check the last photo. I posted like 2 days ago. I'm still
Right. Well,
posting
so I
there.
didn't know if
So
that
yeah,
was just the comments have been coming for years or what. So that's amazing.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's everyone thinks it's dead, but it's not. I mean, it's still alive, and as you can see now, you're showing it. Like for me, it's one of the best ways to actually display a portfolio, because your pictures on Flickr, they just they look so good.
Right.
Of course, popular platforms like Twitter and Instagram are great for engagement and communicating with a lot of audience, but to really show your portfolio, Flickr is still very nice. So I would definitely and I would definitely recommend people to use it more. And even so, sometimes I use it also to just browse for
Right.
new inspiration. And also, what is very nice about Flickr is that with a lot of photos, you can actually see where they're taken. So you can see on the map where people take them, and not with mine, but with a lot of them you can. So which is also very nice for scouting locations. If you're interested in where these pictures are exactly taken, a lot of them on Flickr you can see the location, which is very nice. I usually I just only upload my best work on Flickr, so I
Right.
use it for that kind of. And you can see, yeah, if you look at, like, Flickr is very nice on my account if you want to see where I came from. So even all the way back until my time in living in Hong Kong in Asia. So if you scroll back all the way on my Flickr account, you will see pictures from Seoul, Korea, from Japan, from Shanghai, from Hong Kong. And these are really my early days as a photographer, when I was still like looking. I was still I miss those times sometimes now, because I have a certain style, but at that time I was still looking. I was still just finding my style and just really enjoying photography, photographing everything. And you can see some of the stuff right here, just walking on the street and taking pictures of everything. Yeah, those were very nice times. And what's nice about here on Flickr is that you can scroll all the way back and see that development, where I came from. I also never delete old photos, because I like to see that myself, see the development in photography. Yeah.
Yes, and I'd love to talk about that a little bit, about kind of the evolution and working through that to find style that's distinct. People can look at your work and understand that that comes from you, and that's been part of the discussion over the past week. And there's been a lot of discussion on some
Right.
nuance relative to photography and how it works in the NFT realm and how people are perceiving it and other pieces of art. But you obviously have published a lot, but the publish doesn't always
First photo is the
coincide with
cat,
what you
right?
right. But that, of course, but that the publish doesn't always coincide with what you've minted, right? So that was a different
Yeah.
thing, taking something to commercialization. Um, but tell me a little. Let's talk a little bit more about that, about finding your style and finding what I guess
Yeah.
can
No,
mark
yeah,
you and be
definitely.
distinct.
Yeah, so I actually posted, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, I did a post on Twitter saying that, like, it's important to find your style. And often when people see my photos on any social media platform, people that know my work, they immediately see, before they even see my name come up, they see, oh, Albert took that picture. Yeah, you can scroll a bit down, even, yeah, a little bit down. And that's where I think, yeah, here. So that's what I find quite important. But then I got a lot of messages as well from people like, hey, I really liked your post, but how do I find my style? And for me, what I always say to these people as well, and for me as well, it happens very naturally. So in the beginning, you don't have to worry about your style. You just enjoy photography, enjoy being outside, shooting everything you like, and after maybe 1, 2, or even 4, 5 years, you really start to see what you like and what you don't like. So then also your style starts to develop, because in the beginning, also in the editing process, you try everything. You try black and white, you try sepia, you try colorful, you try HDR things, you try basically all kinds of editing, and well, over the years, you start to kind of put more of yourself into your photos, because people tend to look at others' work, especially in the beginning, maybe do some tutorial on editing as well, and they like seeing techniques, using some techniques in that photo, using something else on another photo. But yeah, if you're photographing for a really long time, you automatically start to put more of yourself in it. So like I mentioned before, when I see a scene, in reality, I take a photo, I often already know how I want the colors to look. So all the pictures you see from me, they're all like real photos. There's no compositing or something. They're all like real skies, no sky replacement or that kind of things. But I really like to play with the colors. So I like this complementary color patterns that I use a lot in design as well. And yeah, finding your style, it's for different for everyone. But what I would recommend is don't worry too much about it in the beginning. You will find it automatically. And also, I think that yeah, if you look at my photos and my work, you see the style is very consistent across all the photos. So I shoot cityscapes, I shoot macro, I shoot landscapes, but they're all like the colors and the style is all the same. So it doesn't matter if it's a city or a mountain, the style is the same. And that is difficult, but it can be very powerful for your brand. And you see, my work, it's very colorful, but that doesn't mean that, I have this kind of style, but I like so many things. And that's also the beauty now in NFT photography for myself as well. I see so many new things and styles that I really enjoy. So some people, they make amazing black and white work, or I really love this like street photography, especially from Japan, with all this like reflecting neon lights. I used to try that back in the days in Hong Kong as well, but this kind of photos I like as well. And there are some people who have like amazing style, but it's completely different from my own. But yeah, that really doesn't matter. So
Right.
there's just so much stuff out there to like right now. Like I think Will Shark bought some whole series today from some images, like all the street images combination with this portraits, like kind of dreamy style, but it's really amazing work. And for me as well, this whole this whole movement, it's great to see so many different kind of styles.
And
Yeah.
despite sorry, I wanted to just quickly ask on that about style. Since you have such a defined style and you keep seeing inspiration with all these new different things that you're finding interesting, is your style still evolving? Are you trying to incorporate new elements that are still consistent with you, but might be a little bit different than what you've been doing more recently, even if it harkens back to what you're doing in the past?
Yes, no, definitely. So um, if I got my first macro lens only last year. So that was a completely new element for me in my photography, and I had to kind of implement that in my style as well. But yeah, when you look at my Instagram and here on Flickr as well, the picture on top with the mushrooms, or I'm doing that a lot now as well. You see these mushrooms, and they're super dreamy, like they really fit in with my other work. And also like I'm also experimenting with kind of like monotone black and white, but I still want to have it in kind of my style. Like if you look at my series, you can see it on Behance. If you look at my Behance, you can type behance.com, no, behance.net/Albert Dros.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so the on the left, the email check series, you see that's a different body of work that I normally do. Yeah, you're there, the email check. Oh, you clicked it. Yeah. So you see, this is more monotone work. It still has a little bit of color, blue, But it's, yeah, I can put one or two of these pictures easily in my feed, and it still looks as one. But yeah, it's a different style. And I think as a photographer for myself also, I really like to try different things. I like to try also to keep like the inspiration for myself. You don't, as a photographer, you cannot always do the same thing because you get kind of tired, of yourself. So like sometimes I go back to this kind of street photography from back in the days, or I'm gonna do some black and white. I don't always like maybe post these, but just do them as well. This abstract work, what you see here as well. This is just like you cannot always shoot this amazing grand landscapes. There's so much beauty in small things, in textures, and yeah, throughout the years, I discovered those and tried to implement them in my body of work, because especially in the beginning, I always like to shoot like this amazing landscapes, mountains, amazing city skylines, erupting volcanoes. I also plan a lot of shots, like exactly the moon on top of a church, or an erupting volcano exactly with the Milky Way aligned with it. Like I can plan the shots for weeks, for months, for years even. Yeah, all the spectacular shots, but sometimes these little things, they're amazing and very inspiring.
Yeah, how would you describe your aesthetic? To me, it's almost got a surreal quality. It's almost, dreamy, and I think, you probably really meticulously plan the lighting and the timing and whatnot, and also enhance various things in post production. But how would you
Yeah.
describe it?
Yeah, for me, it's like kind of a dreamy fairy tale style across my work, because also I really enjoy to photograph with this dreamy conditions. So like I shoot with a lot of fog, morning fog. I like to get up in the very early in the morning, like 4 or 5 o'clock, and be there when before the sun comes up, and shoot beautiful foggy mornings. This is really my thing, and you can see this dreamy style over the on my photos. Also cityscapes in the evening with this beautiful blue hour with lights. Kind of like a dreamy fairy tale style, I would say, across most of my work. And you're right, I plan a lot for that. People always say to me like, you're at the right place at the right time always, but it's definitely not the case. I mean, you don't see my work that is kind of filled, so I don't publish those photos. So maybe I go to a place 20 times, and then you see a picture with incredible conditions. Like I have a picture with windmills rising above the fog. Yeah, I tried like maybe 10, 20 times to get this picture. And it's like knowing the weather, going out at the right time, and being there. And yeah, there's a lot of planning involved as well. But I like it. I can spend like hours and hours. Like, for example, today I saw one picture of a place in Thailand, and I spent a few hours of research, like finding all the places in that area and where I could shoot and how to get there. Okay, I need to fly. Then I need to. How do I need to take a cab? Do I rent a car? I contacted some places there to ask like, hey, what's the best season there? Are there now flowers? Like all this kind of stuff. Like even very simple things. Like sometimes I go out here. I go to a city, for example, that I need to drive a few hours, and I once went to some little harbor. I wanted to shoot the houses there in the evening with the lights. But yeah, sometimes there's construction. You know all about it. If you're a photographer, you go somewhere and you see shit. There's construction on the cathedral in Rome, for example.
All
I
right.
call them and I say, "Hey, I want to come. I want to come to take some photos, but is there no construction?" And they're like, "Oh, what do you mean? Why construction?" Yeah, I say, "I don't want construction on my picture." Oh, yeah, yeah. There's no construction. Okay, there's a lot of things you can prepare for, and definitely I often try to get a perfect photo. So yeah, there's a lot of preparation for that, definitely.
What's thank you for outlining a lot of the pre-creative process for you. What's that look like from inspiration to the time of execution? Because this sounds like it's quite a lengthy window.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it can take a very long time, and of course you get some great satisfaction from finally getting that shot. So I
Right.
have a shot of a volcano, for example, that took me months. I was observing this volcano even for months because I needed to know that that I had a very high chance of eruption when I was there. I needed the Milky Way exactly aligned on the volcano. I took that photo, and it was a few years ago, and it was one of the greatest moments of satisfaction for me, because when I saw the photo on the back of my LCD of the camera, it was like incredible. See this volcano with my with the Milky Way, and I took the shot that I already envisioned in my head, and
Right.
lots of people afterwards thought it was fake, because it was so surreal to see that, and it was published in a lot of news articles as well. But yes, also often I plan for things, but I shoot something completely different. It can be an excuse. It can be an excuse to simply be out, have some focus, but you might find something completely different that you like, and you might get your best shot. Like one time I was shooting from in Korea, from the towers in Busan, for those who know, very very high, the Zenith Towers it's called. And I was shooting. Yeah, this is the picture I was talking about earlier, that I did many tries to shoot it. But I was shooting in Busan at the towers. I had the shot in mind that I wanted to take from the top. And after I took all my shots, I walked around a bit more on the roof. I took my fisheye and I shot some last photos, like in crazy angles with reflections from the building down, and these turned to be my best shots from that place. And even the architect from the building, later they bought the shots for their website because they liked them so
Wow.
much. So that was really nice. So sometimes you get the shots when you don't expect them, and sometimes you plan a lot. Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier as well, is when I'm in the field, I often already see how the shot will look, because when as a professional photographer, we're shooting most of the times. If we're shooting digitally, we're shooting in RAW. So RAW files, they are very flat. And so we always need to do some post processing to bring out the colors again. And yes, sometimes you can push it a bit more. And yes, sometimes you need multiple exposures. Sometimes you need panoramas. Sometimes you need focus stacking. If you cannot get everything in focus at the same time, you use a technique called focus stacking. So there's a lot of ways to play with your images in post processing as well. So the whole process, it can be very lengthy process before you see the final image. So yeah, they're
Right.
not just like some snapshots that are taken in 1 minute and being put online. So
Uh,
yeah, once you also when you buy an NFT, you're buying so much more than just a picture.
right. Um, incredible portfolio and incredible style. So take me
Thank
back
you.
to September of last year, which is prior to any, major media boom in the NFT circles, and you had
Right.
experimented and put your first photo up on Rarible. How'd you
Yeah.
find your way into the NFT art space?
Well, crypto has always been a hobby of mine. So I used to actually, back in the days, like quite some time ago, I never got like fully committed to crypto, or I would have been a super rich collector now myself, maybe. But yeah, I used to, it used to be always my interest and my hobby. So I even like Dogecoin, for example. I even mined it with my GPU in 2014, back in the days. I had so many millions of these coins. If I would still have that now, it would be great. But unfortunately, I don't. So I always kept an eye kind of on crypto. And yeah, when those NFTs kind of started, my friends were talking about it a little bit, and they were saying like, "Hey, Albert, try it with your photo," you know. And I was like, "I have a nice photo of Burj Khalifa. Let's just put that one. Let's just try it." I just put it, and no one bought it. Everyone was at the time experimenting with it, and people were already buying these emoji things. And yeah, but photography, not at all. So I just put it, and I thought, let's see. But yeah, it was quickly already like people are not interested in that yet. Now, only more than a year later, they are. But yeah, it's funny how that happened suddenly. It went very fast, and at that time, yeah, there was no hype at all. But I'm happy I minted that piece, because I think it also NFTs has value from being very early. So if you have a
Yes, indeed.
very early mint of an artist, it can be very valuable. We can see that with the Bored Apes, like they were quite early as a PFP. Same with the CryptoPunks, basically.
Yes, and Rarible doesn't like me right now, or else I would have shown it, but it seems to want my MetaMask while I'm on public. So
Right.
probably not going to log in, but it's interesting because I was in a Twitter Spaces and someone made a comment to the effect of, well, the only reason that anyone's involved in NFTs is because of money and the monetary aspect. And I said,
Yeah.
originally it's people that were enthusiasts with cryptocurrency and what that
Exactly.
ethos is, what you can do with the tech, that said, hey, what happens if I throw this photo on here? What happens if I
Yeah.
put a piece of art on the blockchain? And how do we move it? By the way, we have to move it by transacting, right? So some of these amazing, incredible artists that set records or whatever, they were just experimenting, saying, "Hey, I have a following on Facebook. Let me put something on
Yeah.
the blockchain and sell it for $20." Right? Like
Yeah.
that's,
Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, that's the origin of it. So I think it's important for people to understand, like that's how it evolved and why it was there. People were looking for experimentation with the tech,
Yeah.
and then it became what it is now.
It's the same thing with myself. I've always liked innovation. So I like gadgets. I like innovation, and I, uh, I just, I'm a Sony ambassador already for many years. But when I shot with the first Sony A7 mirrorless camera, it was the first full frame mirrorless camera. It was like, I don't know, was 7 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. And at that time, no one believed in it. They were like, this is not the future. And I was like, why? There's no mirror. It's so much lighter. It's great quality. But at the time there were no lenses, so I was shooting with a camera that had only a kit lens and some wide angle, and I had to go with the flow and hope Sony would release new gear. But I went in simply because I thought this is the future of photography. And now see how big mirrorless is. Like everyone has a top tier mirrorless camera now. All the brands, Canon, Nikon, Sony. So it's just, yeah, like being early with something. I just like to experiment with tech, and yeah, I just enjoy it basically. And yeah, of course, now there's good money involved, so a lot of people are coming in the space also for money. And of course, for me, I've been fortunate to be able to be a full-time photographer for a very long time, and definitely didn't have that much struggle with making money, because I worked with a lot of big brands. But I can definitely imagine for a lot of creatives and photographers who also came in the space like kind of later, it's very difficult to stand out, show your work to the right people. And now suddenly with NFTs, like people are paying thousands of dollars for your photo, and of course many people are coming in the NFTs because of that, and you cannot blame them. And yeah, it's also a little bit about, yeah, it's about your work, but also about community. And I definitely like, so far I really in the few months that I'm here in NFTs, I really enjoy everything. Like the whole community is just, it's great.
So quickly on gear, since it sounds like you took a leap of faith into the mirrorless, and now that's
Right.
become more of the standard.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone trying to start out in selecting a camera to get started? Because it can seem very overwhelming. You have the mirrored, mirrorless, you have the 5/3, like more complicated rigs, lenses, wide angle, near macro, and the like. So what advice would you give them? And then secondly, given some of the cool shots you've taken, I'm curious, are you using drones at all? Because like some of those panoramas of Hong Kong, it almost looks like you're floating above a building, but I'm just wondering how you're achieving some of those.
Yeah. No, some of okay, I will answer your first question first. Yeah, some advice for beginning photographers, and I get this question quite a lot actually. And like I would say, like at this time, at this point in time, like phones are great. Phones take great pictures. Most phones now they have 3 lenses. They have the wide angle, the normal, and even a zoom lens. So with your phone, you can already create great photos these days. So in the beginning, just experiment with your phone, and like photography, it's all about creativity, and especially showing it in social media. You don't even see that it's taken with a phone or with some professional camera. So first choice would always be phone for me. Now, if you really want to like get serious and print a lot of your work and offer them in great quality, because if we're shooting with a higher quality sensor, like in bigger size, the quality is so much better than a phone. Phone is nice in small format, but for big prints and just selling your licenses to brands online, you need a bigger sensor. So I would, then you would have to think for yourself, like, do I want to switch lenses or not? Do I mind or not? Because the best systems, they're still systems where you have to switch lenses, because you want to shoot maybe macro, you want to shoot 400 millimeter, maybe wildlife, you want to shoot extreme wide angle. You cannot have it all in one camera. Or if you just want one camera that can shoot a little bit of everything, but not the extreme, so not extreme wide angle, not extreme zoom, you can look at some kind of compact camera. So you can get cameras around $1,000 or $2,000 that are very good from every brand, basically. So look, but I would recommend switching lenses, because you can buy more lenses later. First you use your kit lens, see what you shoot, what you like most, and then you buy another extra zoom or a wide angle lens. Look into that. So that I would recommend if you really want to get serious, but be very careful, because photography is very addicting, and before you know it, you're buying a new lens every week, and you have no time anymore for other things because you're only taking photos. Next question about the drones. I definitely do have drones. I've always shot with drones, and they get a unique vantage point. So the picture you showed earlier from the windmills, that one was taken with a drone, actually. In cities like in Hong Kong and also Dubai and stuff, I don't use a drone. It's not allowed in most places, so I have to be very careful. Especially when I sell shots, I don't want to sell an illegal shot, because it can get back to me later, even years later, if it turns out the shot is illegal. So I'm quite careful with that. But I always carry my drone, and you can get some great photos with that.
Awesome. I have an interesting comment from the social. Someone actually popped in and said, "When moon sirs." And given the context of what we're talking about, I guess they're asking when you're going to have some space photography. That's what I'll assume they're saying.
When moon, I mean, crypto has not been doing that good these days. So good question. But I actually have a lot of pictures of the moon. So this used to be really my thing, to plan exactly where the moon would rise and come down. I also wrote a book and explained how to do those things exactly. I have articles about that as well. But I like to shoot the moon with a very long lens, so like 400 or more, and then above some church tower, for example. This is the shot earlier I was talking about. Busan is this shot, by the way. So I shot it like right straight down with the reflection.
Wow.
So it was my best shot. I took it. It was the last image I took before I went down with the elevator, and it turned to be my best one.
That would have been the last image I took, period, before my my vomit went over the edge of the building.
So for me, like I have a little bit, I'm a little bit afraid of heights, but only if it's like 10, 20 meters high. So if you're like 200, 300, 400 meters above the ground on a super high building, it's like a different reality. So you don't feel or see it anymore. It's like a different world. So then all the I'm not scared anymore. But I think I have some pictures of the moon as well, and I don't know if they are here. Definitely, you can probably find them on my Instagram, I think. Or I have quite some photos of the moon. Also, I posted it recently. Also in Greenland, I'm doing some tours in here you have the moon here. So it's the blood moon here, the red moon. So I was shooting that one from a boat, and this was our other boat. I did this. We are doing these tours in Greenland, so I bring people on photo tours to the most beautiful places in the world. We've been to Greenland, Antarctica. This is with company of my friend from Yuri. You can find him as well on Twitter. He's also now into the NFTs. He has some amazing work about from volcanoes. Russian guy, really nice, and we're doing this tour. So you can see this whole series of the moon. So we took this boat and like talking with the walkie-talkie, like okay, a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, and this is like shot from maybe a half a kilometer away with a super long lens when it's dark, so no tripod, higher ISO, super difficult to take, but you can see the result is spectacular.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's your moon.
Yeah, it's ironic that they were probably joking, but that's how the breadth of your work that you actually had it covered. So props to you for that
I
for
should
sure.
release the moon series as NFT. Maybe it's a great
You know
idea.
what? It may be because and people, people have different thoughts on this even within our own organization, right? We have different thoughts on investment thesis and what you should or shouldn't do. But
Yeah,
at the end of the day, NFTs is part of a cultural movement. And so
right.
incorporating some of that culture into what you do, I don't think is necessarily a negative. It has to be tactful and with taste, depending on what your goals are, right? Some people like to represent an extreme, and that's fine. Art, however, you want to art, but at the end of the day, it's part of a cultural movement, and so that's why a lot of the things that happen are supported or indicative of that. But that's just my
Yeah.
perspective from where I sit.
No, definitely. And also, I find that a very interesting discussion that I saw that earlier as well during the last days. Like, what exactly do you mint? Because here on my Instagram, you're browsing through my portfolio. There's so many photos, and
Right.
I only put up my best work. So it's not like I'm just putting it all up there. No, this is 10 years of work, and I have so much work. And you can say, yeah. Whale Shark was talking yesterday. He said only mint your best work, but in my opinion, I have many work that is good. I find it difficult to choose and also to kind of group, because here on Foundation, you see, I'm minting some cityscapes, I'm minting some landscapes. For me, that's fine, but it's always interesting how collectors think, and also pricing. So when you went back to the Foundation page, you see my newest piece, I priced it much higher than my other pieces, also because of the story with it. So it's very special for me. This is where photography started for me. So I gave it a higher price because emotionally that photo for me has a higher value. For a collector, maybe not, but I think it should also have, because it's about my work. And if the right collector can share kind of that feeling, it's for him or her. But then in the past, also a few months ago, I released that collection on OpenSea that you showed. So that is a body of work. So I was, at that time, I was also experimenting. So here I have a lot of textures from different things, from sand, from water, all kinds of things. And I was experimenting also because the PFPs, they all have these abilities with rarities. So I was experimenting a bit with rarity. So you can see actually it has properties. So it has property only one, but it has a river property. And there are some pieces who only have maybe a tulip or golden ice property. There are only like two or one of them, and that's creating more value in the collection. So now I'm also trying to do something with like a real world rarity. So, for example, a glacier shot or element will have a higher rarity than like a grass landscape, simply because glaciers, maybe in 10, 20 years, most glaciers will be gone because of global warming. So they have a higher rarity in the collection. So I like to experiment with things, like I explained before as well. Innovation, always trying to do new things. Yeah, so this one is rare in the collection, and that's why it's also was quite high price compared to the other pieces. So yeah, in that regards, I'm always experimenting with things. Same with NFTs, and I'm sure that in the in the future we will see much more experiments like that, also in the photography NFT industry.
Yeah. I would say that, you know, this was still a cohesive plan. You wanted to put a collection together and represent, hey, this is texture. I'm experimenting with traits with specific purpose. I think it's a little nuanced, right? Because you're established in some ways, and some people will say, I don't know what my distinct style and voice is, but I want to participate. But this is what I've been seeing frequently as of late. People that are, wherever they are in their career pathing, not necessarily curating their works for this type of platform, and they're trying to participate, and they're trying to find what's the right mix, and um, throwing spaghetti at the wall seemed to have been advice that someone may have said this is a good idea, and is it or is it not? I think there's nuance to that discussion on why you're doing it, what your goals are, where you are, and I could certainly give my opinion, but everyone gets to hear me all the time. I love to hear your thoughts on if someone's trying to get established, and they don't have the pedigree of work that you have, but they want to participate in this. What's the best way forward for them? Because
Uh,
one thing I hear is, hey, if I put a bunch of stuff out, just like everything I got, then I have more opportunity to catch someone's eye, right? And is that
yeah,
the right pathing? For some, maybe.
no,
Love to hear your thoughts on it.
no. I think not. Now, especially, so we're not talking only about NFTs. We're talking about photography in general, getting noticed. So back in the days, it was still easier, and not everyone was. There were not so much photographers. Now there's so much art and photography, and there's so many people who have some amazing work. But I think at this time, originality, it's very important. Like there are so many photos of Iceland, Kirkjufell Mountain, for example, amazing mountain, but make an amazing picture of that, and every no one will look twice because they're like, oh, I've seen this mountain 100 times. But if you look at my work from Kyrgyzstan, for example, this is like completely original. So no one has been there. Well, almost no one has been there before. And I made this spectacular photo series from Kyrgyzstan over the years. So I've been there numerous times now. And the first time I did that, this was very original work because no one had ever seen these locations. It's a country that not many people know. So automatically, this gets interest. Even if you're not popular, you make some good work of maybe a city or a place or a good body of work. Doesn't have to be even landscape, can be anything. But if it's something original, I think it has nowadays much more chance to get noticed. And not only the photos, but you write a story with it. So this I like to do. I like to make a photo series, but then I also really like to write a story with it. So I write a story with every photo. I write a complete story of the whole experience. And also culture. So people wanna experience that culture. They wanna see that through your images, and with that, with a body of work, you can really like portray a place or a city or anything basically, or an event. It can be anything. But if it's something original, and then it's easier to get noticed because there are many blogs online. They're interested in always content these days. Everyone wants content. So even the most popular photo blogs or design blogs or whatever, if you have something original, it's a good story, it's good photos, they will publish it. And if a big website, now I have all the contacts of all these big websites, I simply send them one email with my new article, and some of them will publish it. But if one big one publishes it, then they all want to publish it, and they will contact you. Hey, can we publish it? Usually I don't even ask for money for that, because I just want to show my work. I want to get my work out there, because the real money is not from articles online. It's from other things. So in the beginning, especially, you want to show your work to as many people as possible. Through those methods. So originality, write a story with your photos, make maybe a body of work with a story, or it can also be a single image that tells a very good story, maybe a beautiful portrait that people will ask, hey, what happened to this person? And you write a good story with that, something like that. But original things tend to get noticed easier than like the most spectacular photos of a place that is already very well famous, let's say famous. So I always recommend that. And it's also very just it's also nice. It's fun. It's challenging to find new places and create like photos that you have never seen before. Because a lot of photographers, they think, oh, yeah, I see a photo, let's go there and make that photo. Not exactly the same, but similar. But it's like it's so nice to go to a place like completely not expect, you don't know what to expect, and then just go there a few weeks and shoot and see what you come up with, and then write the story.
Yeah, or go to a place but show it in a different way. Like they would give different perspective and meaning to it. We talk a lot of times here about connectivity because NFTs. We're in Web 3.0. This is all about interactivity and it being experiential. It's not just taking the visualization and putting it on the blockchain for a different delivery. It's a whole
Mm.
different experience, right? So I think it really enhances it when people can connect. And one thing that I've heard in a lot of spaces and in our own discussion room that we stood up is people saying, I'm not that gregarious. I'm not the person to raise my hand and talk and show my stuff. And what we try to emphasize is it's not necessarily about shilling. Like people kind of have blinders. They see just a link drop. You have to make some kind of organic connection, and that doesn't mean you have to be the most articulate person or you have to talk all the time. People do that with the way that the reaction they get from the visual, right? There's a lot of ways to make a connection and storytell and evoke some kind of emotion, because at the end of the day, I'm a musician myself. Well, I'll call it lapsed, right? Because I'm deep into blockchain and everything else. But when I did, apathy was the worst thing for me, to put something out and no one felt anything. So I needed to make people feel. And if I did, then that was good for me. And so if I did that by talking about it or showing it in such a way, but for me to do that, I had to have some level of potency. I couldn't just, I experiment all the time. I love making different stuff that wasn't my genre or that I thought was cool. And not all of it is probably the best representation for me to put out there and cause that effect. So there's some you know, regulating there that has to happen. But I think the connectivity really helps people when they can try to achieve that.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. Actually, I've also produced music in the past, so I kind of know what you mean. Yeah, I released even some vinyl, some techno music. I don't know what you're making.
Nice.
I used to like play the keyboard and you know use Ableton Live, create music as well. But yeah, I know what you mean, and it's funny because maybe 10 years ago, I remember when I got my first like viral photo. It went all over the internet, and I was even in some TV shows. Well, they wanted me in TV shows, but I was saying no because I didn't want to be on TV. I didn't want to show my face. I was not ready for that. I was really introvert, and I'm sure that many people can relate. I didn't like something what we are doing now. I would have never done that 10 years ago. But yeah, it's after a while feel more comfortable also about maybe my work, and now it's more part of it, I guess. The nice thing about like blockchain and crypto is that most of people are anonymous, so you can just talk. You don't even need to show your face most of the time. But yeah, it's a different world, and yeah, it's not easy to make people, to show people your work, and also to get, you also get a lot of, you need to also to grow. You need to get feedback, and sometimes you don't, maybe
Right.
not get the best feedback. And for me as a photographer, I always find that non-photographers is the best feedback on my work, because if someone who has nothing with photography looks at my photo and they see something weird, then I know, okay, something is weird in this photo. Because photographers, we analyze everything to perfection. We look at this composition and everything like perfect. When people ask me, I look like at everything like in perfection. But you know getting a normal feedback from my girlfriend, hey, this is weird, this looks off, then I'm like, oh, that's a good feedback actually. Because if you think it's like that, then probably a lot of other people will think the same. So also, I never back out for negative feedback, and I always try to improve. Even now, yeah, like we discussed before, I'm trying new things. Always try to improve as an artist, not only photographer, but as an artist. Also with music, you're trying new things, you experiment, and yeah, you improve.
Yeah, I think it takes a special type of mindset to say, that's valuable information. It's more valuable to me than someone that would just passively say, great job, even if without giving
Yeah,
me, much to it. Because, it's great to have support, but we don't want an echo chamber. We want genuine, authentic feedback that can make us get better. And I think sometimes it's hard to do that in different environments. I think the NFT movement has been here for years, right? People were working on this in 2017, et cetera, in different iterations, right? 16 all the way up to now. And, you know, there's a lot of perspective from the different segments from outside of just photography. So like we have this community here and we stood up the room and I think people are very excited, first of all, with the movements of the past couple of weeks. But
yeah,
the first thing that happened, people come in, hey, I'm introduced myself, here's my stuff, go look at it, which is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
great, right? But the real value is, hey, you know what? Here's a community of people that have been collecting or enthusiasts or digital artists that have been here. Let's have conversations and let's get actual feedback. And I love that today, actually, we kind of said, okay, we're going to tamp down on the shilling a little bit and start fostering the communication. And it was awesome to see people starting to say, hey, here's what I can see from your work, and people took that and they weren't offended. They just said, okay, that helps me hone in on what I can get better at, right? And so being able to have those honest discussions, I think, is valuable. And you got to seek communities that can give that to you as well, not just it's not a reiteration of Instagram. It's not just how many likes, how many people tell you something's awesome.
Exactly.
you know
Yeah. No, definitely. I completely agree with that. And I think also like here with the NFTs and what you guys are doing, I think it's great also to create sometimes maybe Twitter spaces and or like where people can submit some work and get some feedback from other people, this kind of stuff. Super valuable. Often myself as well, like I have some group on Facebook where like I have a course where I teach people how to post process, and they all posting their results and their work, and I can give feedback in one sentence. It takes me maybe half a minute to give feedback and say one sentence about a photo, but this for some people it can be already so valuable. So having communities like that, and also like now when NFT photography is getting bigger, it's great to have this kind of talks as well, where just people who are looking for feedback, maybe about their work or how to present it or how to make a drop or something, where they can talk and ask and have other people give advice on.
Yeah, and man, you are just a wealth of knowledge, Albert. So thank you so much for spending some time. Do you have a hard cutoff, or could you spend a little bit more time with us?
No, no, I have enough time,
Oh,
sure.
awesome! I haven't even let Iliscavia speak. Barely. Sorry, buddy.
If people have questions also, just feel free to ask.
Yes, we definitely got a bunch. And we'll try to weave those in and also run through them at the end. So everyone we definitely will share the questions. Can you give us your perspective on like the past 2 weeks? So I know there was a lot of flurry of activity with a lot of collectors, kind of advocating for the space and making some bids and kind of progressing things a little bit further. Um, then there was a lot of discussion within the NFT photography community as well as far as what that means. But prior to that, how would you characterize the build of what was going on in the segment and then what's happened just recently?
Well, yeah, like recently there was like I think you can call it like a wave, a wave of like some big collectors coming in, like completely stirring up the space of NFT photography, you could say, by buying a lot of pieces and you know. Also creating hype with other collectors saying like, hey, photography is probably for regarding NFTs long time it can be very valuable to buy some NFTs now of like good artists. But before that, I yeah there, I think the NFT photography, it has been going on like quite well for maybe a few months before I got into it already. I already saw a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, at the time I didn't have that much time, and also yeah, I just I don't know. It takes also quite some time to get to know people in the space, and to learn how to present your work, how to drop it, where to drop it, OpenSea, Foundation, Maker's Place, all platforms, and yeah, where do you drop what? So it takes time to get into the space. So in general, it takes time. And yeah, I'm quite busy with other things as well. So yeah, I had to wait for that. But yeah, I think in general it's like going in a quite steady line up, saying like yeah, it's getting more hype and more hype, more collectors coming in. So it's nice to see, and it's also nice to yeah see not only that but also like more Twitter spaces about all kinds of stuff. You guys creating this kind of stuff. I'm sure there are other like talks like this as well. So there's much more community coming in, and yeah, overall, I think it's very nice. What I also want to say is that yeah, a lot of people they're asking like, okay, you buy a photo NFT, but then what? What the collectors do with it, and why are you buying it? Because you can download the picture, then you have it, but it's about, of course, it's about owning the NFT, owning the token. But what I also find very interesting topic, and that we didn't talk about it at all, but I'm quite curious about what you think of that, Nightmare, is what how do you see the future of art? Because when we look at art, like in general, just art, not only photography, you have physical art galleries, and I'm sure they will be there for a long time. But now when NFTs are coming in, and you already see this like a bit like website, it's like on cyber, I think it's called oncyber.io. People are creating their 3D galleries. You can walk in them like a video game, people displaying their NFTs. I'm sure that there soon will be like VR support for this kind of galleries, and they will have like crazy good graphics. You can buy like crazy lights, furniture, all kinds of stuff, where obviously you will have to pay in Ethereum for that. But you can create a crazy gallery with your with VR support, VR glasses, and that might even be the future of art. That people just walk virtually in galleries, and they are even like maybe more beautiful than in reality, because we can already see the future. It's more virtual than ever, especially now with COVID and stuff. People have to spend their time inside. They are online. Like just wait a few years until everyone is sitting with their VR glasses and walking in their virtual world, probably more even than in the real world.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We've actually been highlighting some of the artists that we have in the vault and curating galleries specific to certain themes with different. We have a lot of land in the metaverse, and we've built some amazing structures there for this specific purpose. I'll actually send you a really cool link. They did an episode of Metaverse Cribs where they gave a
I
little
saw
tour.
that today. Some
Yeah, yeah.
crazy building. It kind of looked like Minecraft,
Yes, yeah.
with
So I mean, so there's different platforms, right? And so there's ones that are very voxel based that look like
yeah.
Minecraft, and there's some that are super
Mhm.
photorealistic. I'll send you one of an artist we did recently, Giant Swan. He's a
Ah,
VR sculptor, does amazing work, and so we had a gallery that was put together that really personifies what we think a whale gallery should be. So the floor is very reflective, almost like a an ocean at nighttime. And so the virtual pieces on the walls with motion are reflecting off of it. And as you get close, you can see some of the attributes in text. So I agree with you, but it is a game changer when you experience these things with the Oculus on or with the VR
right.
glasses on.
Yeah.
It's a totally different level of immersion, and I think it's already incredible. But I think there's platforms right now like Substrata. They're building out very photorealistic capabilities in VR and in the metaverse. And as those things continue to progress, it'll only get better. So I think you're right. That will be part of the process. But I don't think it's either or. I think things are going to live in unison, because I still think that there's obviously a value to the tactile feel. I mean, there's a reason why I still like to seek out, actual vinyl. I actually like
Yeah,
to collect, things that I like to have on hand, but oftentimes I like to have both iterations, right?
yeah,
Like I have
yeah,
collectibles that I have on my desk that I also have in my wallet, and I experience them in different ways. So I think the metaverse is going to be a way for a lot of people, and I think COVID's really helped us come to this realization that virtual goods and virtual experiences are as valuable, if not more valuable, moving forward into the future.
exactly.
The industry is going to be absolutely mammoth. When we talk about people trying to find their way in, it's things that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Like there's a blockchain game called Blankos, which is kind of like, I don't know, a hybrid of Splatoon and some other things, with partnerships with like Dolce and Gabbana and Gucci, right, to get your
Yeah,
aesthetic.
yeah, right.
And that's important to people because people want to reflect something digitally. And one of the best analogies that I heard someone say was Trevor from Friends with Benefits, which is another social token, if you're not familiar. And he was on a panel that included a lot of traditional museum curators, traditional fine art collectors, and people from the NFT realm and social tokens. And he said, look, when I was in high school, I would say to my mom, like, I need whatever a few $100 to go get these sneakers and these clothes, so I could go to this building of 300 people. And I wanted to participate in that culture that way. It was me making a cultural statement. It meant something to me. Now you're not doing that. Now you have your Twitter, your Facebook, all these different areas of the digital realm where these assets are a way for you to participate in culture with thousands, if not millions of people, right? And that's in just our old Web 2.0 way. Web 3, where it's actually an experience where you're doing something and part of it, it's not a one-way communication, right? It's an experience, makes that even more valuable. So, being able to immerse yourself in a photo like yours and be surrounded by dreamscapes and walk through it and have that type of experience is a totally different thing. It's going to be invaluable, but I do believe it'll live in unison along with the progression of the traditional art. But it's going to be fun, and it's great that we are here at this stage, right, to watch it evolve and help along with the experimentation. And it's part of what gets me excited every day. I know Ilascavia just the other day was talking about metaverse lands and the reason people, go into certain things as well. So it's an exciting time for sure. And I think photography will definitely be a big part of that.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think exactly the same as you as well. I really wonder, like, when we are like grandpas, how we will talk to our grandchildren, maybe like, hey, back in the days, we were there when the first photo NFTs, were minted, and look where we are now. I really wonder how it's gonna be at that time.
My there's a new Matrix movie, right? And I
Mhm.
am a fan of the Matrix, but I have a little guy, Mini Nightmare, and I said, hey, watch this old Matrix stuff with me. And he was like, it looks dated, it's old.
Yeah,
I tried to bridge him with Ready Player One, and his attention span was like 5 minutes, and he was into something else. And I'm like, wow, you like this stuff, and he wasn't really into it. Fast forward to a different point where I've talked to him about the metaverse, because he asks me questions sometimes when I'm doing these interviews or he sees stuff on my computer. And we have, VR headset. And he said, can I go in there? I said, sure. So he goes in and he's walking around and experiencing this. And then he couldn't stop talking about it since. Now he's watched The Matrix over and over and over again. Ready Player One, they're like his favorite movies, because when you experience this the way it's intended, it really helps you understand and put it all together. And I think a lot of times people hear about it and it's difficult to make the connection. And I think it kind of makes me think about artists that are saying, hey, I drove by and dropped the link and I didn't get much traction, because this is so much about being embedded in the experience, even the community growth and making the connections. It's not Web 2.0. It's not looking at a billboard. It's experiencing it, right? In different ways. Even without VR, like your art, when someone's choosing to buy an NFT, at least me as a collector, it's an experience. I feel like I really value this art. It makes me feel a certain way. And by making this purchase, I'm making a claim to it, as far as I believe in this. I want to be part of it. I want to participate in it. It's an experience for me. And that
it's
experience
experience, a
changes.
connection. Yeah.
Yeah, it changes with different things. Now, is that experience the same if it's an edition 1 of 100? Maybe not. Maybe if it's intended that way because you're making collectibles like you are, then it is, and that's even more rare, right? So there's a lot of nuance to it, but we have to stop thinking from the mindset of traditional, just an aesthetic one-way communication.
And
Yeah.
if I may interject one comment, is what you're talking about is what I consider utility. So when I was talking about the metaverse lands yesterday, I was talking about utility, and that experience is something that gives the NFT an additional utility that traditional print photography might not. So if we kind of generalize beyond photography just to NFTs in general, it's what can you do with them that gives that community an additional way of belonging, almost like an additional gated access. So that in and of itself, depending how that forms, in my opinion, it helps add an additional value that can be appreciated by different members of the community for what they impart to the owner.
Yeah, and to be clear, utility doesn't have to be like, we're not talking like you have to gamify something and, if you have this, you get,
Yeah,
free
no.
pizzas
I was saying
ordered to
like
your
the
house per
experience.
week.
No,
Right.
I was referring to what you're talking about, the way you experience it. To me, that's utility. Not, hey, I can gain access. No, but like by viewing it, like I'm viewing my VR headset. To me, that's utility that I don't have
Yeah.
otherwise.
Right.
But that's a point that not all artists have gotten to that point. So I'm not saying that has to give you something. It's more like the way you enjoy it.
Yeah.
I consider that a utility.
Yeah, and even
Right.
yeah, I agree with you 100%. And even without a headset, without any bells and whistles, the fact that I can say, "Hey, this is special. I feel like I have a connection with this photography, with this work, with this aesthetic." And so by me acquiring this NFT, then it makes me feel a certain way and have that experience. It's definitely part of it, and how that plays out psychologically. There's lots of different ways to do it, but the point is the experience is a big part of it. It's a two-way communication.
Yeah, I agree. And what's also very nice about the community now, the NFT community, there are so many artists, so many creatives, and what is very cool is that you see a lot of collaborations, and because people find each other, and they're like, "Hey, that's cool. I also I'm an artist like this. Let's create an NFT together." Because digitally anything is possible. Like maybe some good animator will come in and say, "Hey, Albert, let's do a collaboration, animate one of your photos, and make an NFT from that." Like anything is possible now, and that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah, but an important thing to that is, sure, someone could just come across your photos and reach out, right? But it's a
Yeah,
lot more likely that this happens organically by being part of a community and participating and going outside of your box, right? So, if you want those types of things to happen, um, this is a group of creatives in the NFT movement building, right? And you can do that in whatever way you want, but there's an opportunity to leverage the hive mind and get excited about stuff. One of the things I love about it is, as a creative, though I haven't actually put anything out recently, but being around other people's creativity and seeing it in the works and the different machinations of it gets me excited, and then I do different things, and so I think the movement has a lot of benefits as a whole that it'll inherently push photography forward. I do feel like the boom happened in the spring where a lot of mainstream people caught notice and came and got involved. And some of those people are still finding their footing. They were on the periphery. They joined a few clubhouse rooms. They heard about NFTs. They got in a room with some other photographers, and now they're kind of exploring the beyond that circle
yeah,
and seeing some different things. And just like Whale Sharks shares a lot of his thesis as a collector, and that's valuable information. Understand he's one collector. There's a whole
yeah.
community here, even within our own team. Like, I don't agree with everything he says, and I have my own collector's thesis, but it helps you have perspective on different things that are nuanced, that you can experiment with and understand where other people outside that circle are coming from.
No, definitely. It helps. It helps a lot, and it helps a lot of people, and also it helps to bring a discussion about those points because he has quite strong opinions about things. So that is very good, and yeah, it's very, very helpful for maybe I also don't agree with everything, but that's okay. We are creatives, and I think what's most important is, you're not creating for other people, you're creating for yourself, and you have to find the people that connect with your work, and that's not going to be everyone. So that's totally fine. The most important thing is that you don't let yourself influence, but be inspired by others. So every day I see very inspiring work. That is just great, and I think, oh, I also want to do something like that. Not exactly the same, but something like that. So the inspiration is just, yeah, it's amazing. And a collector like Will Shark speaking out about all these things and what he thinks about all these topics, yeah, it's very helpful for everyone, and for this entire community. So yeah, great,
Yeah,
great job on that.
well, I mean, I guess I'll take kudos for what Whale Shark's doing. I'll take that all day. But it pushes the dialogue forward. The dialogue happens, and that's the most valuable thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes someone will, whether in our Discord or communities or whatever, will say something, and it's, whether it seems a little contentious or not, and they'll apologize, and I'll say, don't, because that's hearing different perspectives, having the dialogue, sparking the conversation is very valuable. That's more valuable to me than anyone saying a million times GM and great job. Like, I understand that.
Yeah,
That's, my
we
eyes
are
are
gonna
glazing
make it.
over.
Yeah.
Right. Like don't get me wrong, I'm all about the subculture, but I want to have more
Yeah.
in-depth, nuanced conversation. So, you know, people could totally disagree with what I'm saying sometimes. I'm thankful that they're sharing it. Let's continue to have those dialogues, and then someone will be inspired, someone will experiment, someone will come up with something that addresses an issue, and things move forward instead of just being, staying where they are. So thank you for being part of that conversation. And that reminded me, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. I did see that you also had this other project
Right.
here.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Could you tell us a
Still
little bit
working
about
on that.
this?
Yeah, sure. This is just like completely experimental project. I also didn't like. I have a friend. He can build, so he can build on the Solana platform, Solana ecosystem. So he's building that for me actually. So we're just trying something completely different on a completely different chain. And what's cool about this project is that, I just took hundreds of my photos. I cut them all in layers, via the generator. So it's generative art. Like all of these layers are mixed, and you get some completely new photos out of that from my own material. So you can see here all kinds of different layers are split up. So I took hours and hours of work to split all these layers. So you have this foregrounds, this midgrounds, the skies, completely from hundreds of completely different photos. And yeah, you see here how this photo, the photo on the right, is built up. So you have a hills of Tuscany. We have header from the Netherlands. And then we have, you scroll a little bit up, you see it's, yeah, and then it's like Austria, twilight moon, and all these layers combined. So we have header from the Netherlands in the foreground, we have the landscape of Tuscany, and then we have the sky from the twilight moon from it's Austria, yeah, and combined that is one picture. So yeah, that was the idea. It's still in the works. It just kind of a fun project actually. So we want to actually give most of the money, just if we raise any money, at least give it to charity basically, because I also believe like as a photographer, it's important to think about the environment and our planet. So we want to give most of that to basically charity in regards to that. But yeah, it's just a hobby project, and you can see the result. Like some of the pictures, they look like real photos. Like some of them,
Right.
you don't see that they're generated from different layers. You just think that they're like real photos, and it's a fun project, and I think it's like the first of its kind. Like I have not seen anything like that in regards to a photo NFT. So it's a photo generative project, yeah. And I think it will come out maybe somewhere in January or something. Probably we're still working on it. Takes a lot of time as well.
Yeah, but I definitely think it talks to the fact that, you were interested in experimenting early, and that's why you were doing it, and it's why you're
Yeah,
you're using this as well. And a testament to that is, you're trying to also do this on Solana, right? So,
yeah,
trying to be eco-conscious and see what can happen on that platform. And it's really, because
right.
there's ways that you could have set this up differently. If it was monetary objectives, it would have been different. So it's clear to me seeing
Yeah,
this. This is someone
exactly.
that's experimenting, right?
Yeah,
Um, so that's super cool. Man, I could talk to you for hours, Albert. I think we'll
yeah,
probably have to
yeah.
reschedule you for another time, or else everyone's going to get in trouble here for keeping you too long. I know that you're a
No
busy
worries.
guy. I did want to make sure I cover some of the questions that came from the community. Lescave, did you
Sure.
happen to have some?
Yeah, I saw that some of the questions that came in was someone was asking, but if there's a place that you visited, challenge, or rather, what place of those that you visited challenged you the most creatively to come up with some of your photographic gems?
Yeah, for sure that was the country that I mentioned earlier in Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, because you know, like I explained before, when I first went there, I knew nothing. I just going there, and I used my friends from Karakol, the town is called. So I made some friends there that I contacted online before. I was like, "Hey, I'm a photographer. I want to capture some of the beauty here." Huh? So they said, "Okay, we will bring you on some trips." And that is like 4 years ago now. We became friends. We went on many trips together. And the great thing about these trips is that there's really nothing there. So what I mean with nothing is that in a lot of those places there's no civilization, there's no internet. You're easily spending a week in the mountains. You're with your tent. There's no hotel. There's no electricity. Nothing. So you're just like it's like a completely cut off from the real world, basically, and that is what really enhances creativity. So I'm only busy with my photography and just also soaking in the landscape and culture simply because there's nothing else to do. There's no triggers. There's no like, hey, let's check my phone, let's check Instagram, let's check Facebook, let's check Twitter, let's check crypto space. There's nothing because so you're only busy with your creative process. For me that works the best, this kind of areas. And Kyrgyzstan really definitely helps me with that. It's just there's so many landscapes there that almost no one has ever been. I have discovered places through Google Earth. So sometimes I scout hours on Google Earth over a country. I scouted some canyons through the landscapes from Google Earth. And then I went there, and a few years ago, there's a small documentary about it from a CNN, actually, CNN Travel. You can look it up on Google, CNN Travel, Albert Dros, Kyrgyzstan. Look it up on Google. You can see it, and we discovered there like these places that I scouted through Google Earth, and now some of these places they are hotspots for local tourism. So no one has been there before, and I scouted it through Google Earth. We drove there through a river that could be used as a road because I also saw that on Google Earth. I was like, can we drive here? So we always using the Land Cruiser 4x4, and could drive there. And now it's being used as a tourist destination just for locals, nothing extreme, but it's really amazing to see. This kind of areas. There are lots of other countries like this as well, and areas where just there are not many people, and the people themselves they're happy you're coming because there are not that many photographers coming or tourists in general. So they're happy to show you their country, and you can just totally get this unique experience. And that enhances the creative process so much because when you go to a new place completely new and you know nothing about it, it also you want to tell that story, and you want to basically, if you're a photographer, you want to capture everything there. So you start to capture these little flowers, the big landscapes. You use the drone. I even took portraits in some of the series, things I normally never do, but just because I want to just show everything and create that story. That is definitely, it definitely works very well. for creativity. And of course, what I mentioned earlier, not having any access to internet or whatever to get any triggers from things is definitely also very very helpful to enhance the creative process.
Yeah, I think I need to do that locally sometimes, quite honestly, unplug a little bit and help myself in that regard. Great perspective on your visit there. I know it was very unique and helped drive tourism, which is incredible if you think about it, right? Um, a cool question that came from the audience was being as well versed as you are in post production and After Effects. Any simple philosophies or tricks of the trade that you would give to help people in that regard?
Hmm. Yeah, I think what is very important, like especially if you're getting into post processing or tools in the beginning, like you tend to try out everything, and that is okay. But in photography, what I always tell people, and what I also do myself, is when I see my photo, I think for maybe 1 minute, I look at the photo and I think in my head, okay, what do I want to achieve with this photo? What do I want my viewer to see? Do I want to enhance this subject? Do I want to make this part darker? Like basically, photographers already did that back in the days in the dark room. Make some little drawing about your photo, what you want to enhance, what is distracting, what you want to remove, basically, and already do that in your head before you do anything. Because I see a lot of people, they take the picture and they just pull a bunch of sliders, pull clarity up, and like, oh, this looks pretty good. But have an idea and try to work towards that, and that also will help you in developing and defining your style. Because you need to have an idea. You're not just gonna do something random. You want to have an idea. Same goes, yeah, for After Effects or any other tool. You want to have an idea, and then you're gonna work your way to that. And maybe you find obstacles, and you're like, shit, I have this idea, but I don't know how to do it. Well, then you type it on Google, you ask it maybe on a Discord, you ask it on Twitter, wherever, but you're gonna find help, and eventually you're gonna get there. And you're not gonna get there if you're just doing something random. You're not gonna learn certain things. So having an idea for me is very important. And uh, for me, it already happens in the field. Even like I mentioned earlier, I see the scene, I take the picture, and I'm looking at the picture on my camera, and I'm like, yeah, this is not how it looks like now, but I'm gonna make sure that in my photo it's gonna look like this, and maybe even I'm gonna enhance something like that you can see it better, especially with this kind of night skies that you saw in the previous photo. I enhanced the stars a little bit so that with the naked eye you cannot see the Milky Way that well. But in the photo, like the camera captures, because of the long exposure, captures so much more data that you can pull out certain details to show that more. Yeah, already having that idea how you want your photo to look when it's done, it really helps with all of these tools, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. People definitely, I had quite a few DMs about that, saying that you're a
Okay.
whiz, so that would be invaluable. Someone asked, besides the things that we had highlighted today of countries that were kind of untouched prior, what would you say were some of your favorite places to shoot?
For now, well, the most impressive things was erupting volcanoes. We've seen a lot the last few years in La Palma in Iceland. Before that, I went to Guatemala for that. There's an erupting volcano there called Fuego, and it's like this classical one. There's a movie, I think it's with Harrison Ford or something, and you have like this classical shape of the volcano. So there's the Fuego volcano in Guatemala. It really looks like this classical shape, and it's super impressive. So it has been, that has been one of my favorites. And also places like the Arctic and the Antarctic. So I've been to Antarctica and also to Greenland, and these are just magical places. I can recommend anyone to visit if you can. Because these are places, the photos are incredible from those places, but the experience from these places, this is just it's something else, that you will not have that feeling anywhere else. Like walking around in between the penguins in Antarctica, it's just I cannot describe how that feels. I have a whole series from penguins as well, from Antarctica, and it's just like, yeah, that's really magical. And yeah, I don't know, like I normally shoot only landscapes and cityscapes and stuff, but being there and seeing all those penguins, I immediately turned into like a wildlife photographer. I shot the series from penguins, and it's incredible. And the atmosphere, it's amazing because you're at the edge of the world. Really weird weather conditions. Like it's a gray sky, but in the beginning I was like, oh, gray sky, you don't need to put any sun cream or whatever. But the UV is so strong there that even it's a gray sky, you get burned. So first I went out for a few hours, was completely overcast. I got burned, like my whole face was completely red. So you always need to get sunscreen there. But there were very weird things there, and it's just like, yeah, this kind of places, it's really magical. So also because it takes a long time to get there. You have to go to Drake's Passage, Crazy Sea, and once you're finally there and the sea is calm and you can get out of your boat, it's just, yeah, I cannot describe that feeling. It's very magical, amazing.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned that having this discussion with you today really gave them FOMO to get out and start traveling again. So hopefully,
Yeah.
COVID tamps down to the point where more people are comfortable to do so. I wanted to ask you. I saw that you had put up your new piece on Foundation. What's next for you in this NFT space? Do you have other projects in the works besides the Solana generative project, or are you just kind of taking it and seeing how things progress?
Yeah, so I'm kind of I have some projects that I want to do, but I'm still thinking how exactly I'm going to do them. So also I just created my profile at the Maker's Place. So I want to experiment a little bit with that platform because I like some of the functions there and what they're going to do with photographers. So I just registered there, talked to some of the staff there. So my profile will be up there soon. But I try to like kind of, so what I'm thinking now is like my foundation. I want to show some of my best work there from around the world, basically. So I kind of want to put things in places. So like some of my best work from around the world, I put it on foundation, and maybe I didn't really decide yet, but that's something I want to maybe do. That some of my best work from the Netherlands, I put, for example, on Maker's Place, and that is not like in any way less good work. It's just different. It's from the Netherlands, so you get this foggy windmills, beautiful forest, stuff like that. So maybe split it up. And yeah, I also have, like, for example, my Kyrgyzstan work. You have that is also some of my work that I'm really emotionally very attached to. But yeah, I haven't released any NFT from those works, and I'm still thinking how I'm going to do that. So am I going to make some exclusive collection somewhere, or yeah, I'm open for ideas as well from other people. But my work from Kyrgyzstan, yeah, it's some of my favorite work, but I have not released NFTs from that yet. So I'm still thinking how I'm gonna do that. Yeah, it's all a little bit experimental. So I have ideas, but I'm not sure how I'm gonna execute these ideas just yet. Yeah, so I guess that is part of the whole creative process, like of a creative. Always. Also, when COVID started, for example, I suddenly thought, okay, I do a lot of photo tours. Huh? I do a lot of photo tours. I bring people to beautiful places. If you want to, you can check my website for these photo tours. I do them a lot with the company called Iceland Photo Tours. We're also going to Iceland and stuff. Next year, I think again to Antarctica as well. But it's creative, like always do something different. So during the COVID, for example, I suddenly released a course on how to do post-processing. You can see it here on the top. Yeah, you can click there. So that's a full, like complete course for editing. I released that because I thought, okay, everything is going to be digital now. So I used to do this kind of courses in to people, groups of people, but I thought, oh, everything is going to be now digital. So I'm going to make a complete digital course on how to do post-processing on photos. So yeah, that's and I released the book as well. Now NFTs, and now I'm just thinking how to do to do all this, how to put all these ideas into proper NFT works. So yeah, to answer your question, it's a bit experimental, but I definitely have a bunch of ideas for all this kind of stuff. Yeah, if anyone is interested in this kind of course, photo editing, definitely check that out. You can learn like everything from super beginner, like learning basic Lightroom to Photoshop and multiple exposures. Everything is explained. Yeah, so I
Maybe I
have
need it.
many things.
Maybe I need this
maybe
course for
you.
my numerous taco pictures that I put on Instagram. So I'm always trying to get the right
Yeah,
glimmer and evoke the right emotion. But no,
yeah,
incredible stuff. But we're definitely excited to see what comes next. We are, we are close partners with Maker's Place, and Whale Shark has a curatorial role over there as well, and some different stuff. So eager to see,
yeah. Let me know. I mean, if you guys have any idea for that, like I said, I just created the profile. I also talked to the staff. So yeah.
Yeah,
If you
you know
have
what?
any
I'm
ideas,
excited. I'm excited to see what your idea is, right? So,
yeah.
always respect the creative process and would rather see what comes from the brilliant mind and what you have in store for
Yeah,
us.
I already put a piece there, but still have to, mint it, and you will see, I guess.
Yeah, and you also talked about it being, hey, I'm going to try to put this collection here, like OpenSea
Exactly. Yeah,
represents this, Foundation
yeah,
represents that. So that's your
yeah,
approach to putting out
yeah.
multitudes of work. So I
I
appreciate
think
you
that's
sharing that.
important. Important in general. Like, don't just put like random stuff everywhere. It needs to have. Yeah, of course, my Burj Khalifa on Rarible, that was like completely random 1 year ago, because it was just like, okay, let's try this. But I think now it's important to just not do some random things, but have an idea with what you put where. Huh? Yeah.
Definitely. Sometimes variable stuff will show up on OpenSea, so I was seeing if I can get it through the back door this way while we
Ah,
talk.
I think maybe so, actually. Created, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that's the same wallet. Huh?
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's a little nuance, especially being that it was so early, right? So, but like you said, early works sometimes have provenance and
yeah.
historical value, and there's a whole different paradigm there. But that led Whale Shark into seeing some of their other stuff with Foundation. So glad that he did find you, and we were able to add some of your incredible works to our vault, and we can hold those and represent them and the NFT photography space very well moving forward. Albert, thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon. It's been an absolute pleasure. Would love to have you on later on down the road when you have another project and we can chop it up even more.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been very nice. So I hope people enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, you can always talk to me in any social media channel. You can basically find me everywhere, or on Discord and Twitter and stuff, of course. So I always answer. So don't worry. Ask me anything. And
Yeah, and
thank
to
you.
that end, there was definitely props given to you for mentioning Discord ahead of Twitter. So that was noticed that you are
Okay,
integrated and
okay.
you are definitely in here. Albert, again, thank you for taking the time. If anyone's interested, you can look at Albert's various links on our Twitter posts with regards to here. We'll also put it into our stream text chat and make sure we amplify it. So anyone that's interested in checking it out, you can check out his all of his links from his Twitter as well. So it's Albert Dros Photo. Again, you can go to the Whale Community webpage and see all of Albert's links under the stream. Albert, thank you again. Can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
your time today.